So, my Escort has a slight but annoying oil leak from the back of the gearbox. Probably the rear gearbox oil seal. I should have replaced it when I last had the gearbox out, but I didn't. The question is, can I replace it now without having to take the gearbox off the car again? And the answer is yes. Now you can stop this video and go and do it, because 99% of the trick is in knowing that it can be done. But if you want to see a little bit more, keep watching. So, it's a spare gearbox, spare prop shaft, and the leak, I think, is coming from here. That's the oil seal in question. Just there. So we need to pull that out and press or tap or drive another one in. Right, spare oil seals. I've got a couple there. Well, I've got two oil seals here, and they look fairly different. The contact face in that is much more deeply recessed than that, but it probably doesn't matter because it slides on this, somewhere along there. So the only critical thing is the outside diameter. Three and a half mil. Yep. The length is 13.5 mil. .7 mil. But that just means it will go to a slightly different depth in the bore here, so that's fine. And the inside diameter to fit on the shaft is about 29 mil. That's slightly springy, it's spring loaded, so near enough will do. You know, squeezed it a bit much. Yeah. And it sits on a shaft which is about 30 mil. Just for the record, sorry about the awful racket in the background. Just for the record, the main shaft splines are about 22 mil. Okay, jacked up on axle stands. So, I don't know what sort of picture we're going to get under here. But those are the rear prop shaft bolts. Undo those first. That's the centre bearing. Two centre bearing bolts. Prop shaft drops down. And if you can see it past the exhaust pipe, that slides out of there. And there's our drip tray when it does. Okay. Right, there's the rear oil seal. Flat side to the outside. We just have to pull that out somehow and press a new one in. Like so. But I'm going to try pressing the new one in by tapping it gently from behind using a suitable size socket in there, and hit it very gently and carefully with a hammer. Now, how easy this will be under the car I don't know. If I screw the whole thing up, I've got a spare oil seal. I'll just have to take the gearbox out, but I'm hoping to avoid that. Well, the old oil seal seriously did not want to come out. I eventually made a hook for my slide hammer out of 2mm steel with a grinder. The idea being it would go in and turn and pull like this, in, like this, in, turn and pull out. And after much efforts, this is what the oil seal looked like. As you can see, I pulled some of it out, but the rest of it wasn't budging. So now I'm going to attack it with chisels and see if I can bend it in a bit. That will break its grip. Had to take the exhaust pipe off or drop it to give a bit more accessibility into here. So it's on the way. Got it. It's a little bit the worse for wear. Bit of a seal again, that's for sure. And it really, really did not want to come out. Oh well, now to clean up the bore and gently tap a new oil seal into place. That was sarcasm. I eventually took the exhaust pipe off for better accessibility. I also took out the gearbox rear mounting bolts and let it drop down a couple of inches so I could get at the oil seal a bit easier. Give a bit more space between that and the prop shaft tunnel. Okay, new oil seal goes in that way with a suitable socket or to tap it in with, and let's go and do it. There is quite a generous chamfer in the back there to help you to start it in the bore. Still got to be very careful to get it straight in and not crossed up. Oh no, that was a lot easier than I expected. Started with that hammer. I had to switch to a heavier hammer halfway. Biggest problem was actually holding the hammer and hitting accurately because my arm got very tired at this awkward angle. But yeah, that went okay. And that's the old oil seal. I didn't do it much good, did I? I pulled all this out. with my magic puller thing. That was where I hammered it back in with the chisel partway through the process before I resumed pulling. It eventually came out, but it was not that easy. So, time to put the prop shaft back in. So, dab of oil on the front and slide that into place. Lift the centre bearing into place and just hold it with a couple of bolts for now. Turn up loosely, and then we can refit the rear flange and bolt it up properly. And just tighten up the diff flange. So then we torqued up the prop shaft flange bolts. Set the centre bearing bolts and my own custom exhaust hanger. So now we just need to top up the gearbox through the filler plug, which is conveniently located in the side of the gearbox just behind the starter motor. Yeah, you can see it just there. So there's the hole. Now it is possible to crawl under there and top up the gearbox with a squeezy bottle like this. Not easy, and you get most of the oil on yourself. There is an easier way. Secure tubing, funnel. So one crawls under and inserts the end of the tubing in the hole, just there. In the gearbox filler hole, that is. And drip tray, just in case. So then you just have to top it up through the conveniently located funnel here, bit by bit. Watch it go down. It's slow, but it's a lot more comfortable than crawling into the car. I'm not using high-powered gear oil. I refilled this with the X80. I pour a funnel full. Go down before I pour some more. That way, if it starts to overflow, I haven't wasted more than that much. She goes. Doesn't seem to be overflowing yet. I can just see the filler cap in the distance there. Or the fill a hole, I should say. So we give it a bit more. So on that 6mm tubing I could probably have used 8mm and it would go quicker. 6mm is what I had. Well, it took about half a litre. So that's it. Job done. Hopefully that will be the end of the gearbox oil leak. We'll see.